Bluey's older brother is a character every fan of the show has always wanted to meet. Unfortunately, that little puppy was never born. But if he were alive, would Bluey's story be different? Protagonist. You can be sure that Bluey's brother would probably be the main character of this story. That's very true, because Joe Brum's first idea, the creator of the show, was to make the main character a male pup. In fact, this character would have been Rusty, but the idea didn't work out because the creators realized it was better to make a cartoon where the main character was a girl. That's why they decided to honor that first plan and create Bluey's unborn brother. Anyone who really knows the Bluey universe knows that Chili lost a baby before having Bluey, and that puppy would have been a boy. The creator of the show himself confirmed this in an interview he gave to the Gotta Be Done podcast, which is a Bluey-focused show. Because of that, you can be sure that if Bluey's brother were alive, he would probably be the protagonist. Of course, a lot of things would be different in the Heeler family story, and one of the biggest changes is that maybe Bingo wouldn't exist, because Bandit and Chili's plan was always to have only 2 pups. In that case, it would be the older brother and Bluey as the younger pup. Would the fans like that idea? You're about to find that out and much more right now.
The moment has come. Let's enjoy another Cinewave together.
Name. But have you ever wondered what Bluey's brother's name would be? Everybody knows that Mr. and Mrs. Heeler's daughters have names that start with the letter B, which already gives us a big clue about what the protagonist's brother's name could be. There are 2 options, and since unfortunately Bluey's brother has never appeared in the show, you can choose which of the 2 options is your favorite. The first option is the name Blue. We know the show is named after the main character, and our little Heeler pup got her name because of her color. The creators added the letter Y at the end just to make it cuter. Bluey's brother would only be called Blue because he would also be a pup with the same color as his dad. When the Heeler couple ended up having a daughter, they decided to keep the idea of using Bluey's fur color to name their pup. It actually makes sense for the Heeler family's first child to be called Blue, don't you think? The second option for the Heeler couple was to name their first son Bob, and that's because Bandit would want to honor his own dad who has the same name. Of course, the second option makes more sense because maybe fans wouldn't be very interested in watching a cartoon called Bob, but we know you would totally watch a series called Blue without the Y, right? So tell us, which of the 2 names is your favorite? Personality. But would Bluey's brother be a cool pup? Of course he would! Everyone in the Heeler family is super fun, but would Blue be more like Bandit or more like Chili? One thing you can be sure of is that Bluey and Bingo's brother would be very similar to their dad. Of course, since he's a boy, he would want to copy his father figure's behavior, in this case, Mr. Heeler. In the same way Rusty likes to play soldier imitating his dad's job, and at the same time loves to play cricket just like his older brother. And talking about Rusty is really important because we already explained that he was going to be the protagonist. In other words, it's very likely that the red Kelpie pup is basically the character that shows what Bluey's brother would have been like. Since Rusty likes to follow both his dad and his brother, it's safe to say that Blue would be a copy of Bandit, just younger. Do you agree with that? And if our channel is right about this theory, then this pup would be the leader of many games with his sisters, and that's something every fan of the show would love to watch, right? Would you like to see an episode with Bluey's brother in it? Comment number yes so we can get to know you. Friends. Who would Bluey's brother's friends be? We already know 3 of them, and you already know who we're talking about. There's Captain, who was a great friend of Mackenzie, Mia, who would definitely become friends with Bluey because of her brother, and also Digger, Rusty's older brother. Those 3 would definitely be Blue's best friends. But talking about this also shows how old this pup would be. We know that today he would be 12 years old. And how do we know that? It's very easy to explain. If he were a lot older, it wouldn't really work to show him having fun with his little sisters. Bandit can play with his daughters because he works a lot from home, but if the protagonist's older brother were more than 12 years old, he'd be way too busy to spend that much time with his sisters. Besides, by making him the same age as Captain and Mia, we could watch an episode where the story takes place with this specific group of pups. And let's be honest, ever since the cricket episode, everyone has always wanted to see an episode where the main characters are Bluey's older friends, because they are really cool. Fairy Tale. Do you remember the episode Fairy Tale? In that story, Bandit tells the tale of the day he traveled with his brothers and parents to a beach. Back then, Mr. Heeler was a bit of a naughty pup and loved making jokes about Strike, but his older brother, Radley, didn't like that at all and decided to teach Bandit a lesson. Bandit had to spend quite a while unable to talk. In the end, he even finds the love of his life. Honestly, anyone who watched Fairy Tale knows it's one of the show's most beautiful episodes. But we're talking about this because it's very possible that this story would have been been different if Bandit and Chili's oldest pup had really been alive. Think about how funny this would be in the original show. In the episode Magic Xylophone, which is the very first episode of the series, Bluey doesn't want to let Bingo use the toy. That day, Bluey said that Bingo couldn't use the xylophone because her sister was too slow, and because of that, Dad would win the game. That's the same kind of mean behavior Bandit had towards Stripe back when they were kids. If Bluey's brother were alive, he could have done the same thing to the protagonist in the first episode. He would use the xylophone on his sister just so Bingo could have fun. Anyone who remembers that story knows that the magic xylophone has the power to freeze anyone who hears it. That means Bluey's brother would use the instrument against his sister because she had been really mean to Bingo, and in the end, she would learn a lesson. See, if that pup were alive, the story of the first episode would be very different. Seesaw. Only people who have older siblings really understand how they can be annoying. Of course, everybody knows the healers are super cool, and the relationship between the siblings is full of love. But if Bluey's brother were alive, he would love to tease his little pup sisters. A great example of that is the episode Seesaw, where Bandit gets the idea to use his own weight to teach his daughters a lesson. That day, Mr. Healer wanted to show his girls that there is always someone bigger, and that being kind to the little ones is the right and fair thing to do. Besides that, he also wanted Pom Pom, the tiny Pomeranian pup, to feel better because she was sad about being so small.
Bluey's brother, being so similar to Bandit, would definitely use his size and weight to teach his sisters that there is always someone bigger, and that's why they should respect and take care of those who are smaller. Of course, this wouldn't be about being a mean brother, but about teaching good things to his sisters.
You know what would be awesome? Subscribing right now and getting all our videos straight on YouTube.
Creek. Do you have any doubt that it would be Bluey's older brother who would show her and Bingo the creek spot? In Bluey's world, it's the older siblings who teach and lead the younger ones. Because of that, it's pretty clear that Mr. Healer would show the creek to his oldest son first, and then that pup would take his sisters to that place. And of course, Mackenzie would go too. And something really interesting about this is that Bluey's older brother would be the first one to understand what's really going on between the border collie and his younger sister. This is a super important detail because Bluey is still very young, and she probably doesn't understand everything she feels, but her older brother would be smart enough to know what's happening. In the episode Barky Boats, Teacher Calypso tries to explain to Bluey and Mackenzie that as we grow up, some feelings evolve and change. She was talking about love. And when it comes to the creek episode, it would be Bluey's older brother who would take the pup and her friends to that place, and on that day, he would understand what the protagonist feels for the border collie. Sport. But what sport would Bluey and Bingo's older brother like to play? There are three options. The first is cricket. We already explained that Bluey's brother would be friends with Digger, Rusty's older brother, and that the Red Kelpie family would be the main group of characters. In Rusty's family, their favorite sport is cricket.
We also explained that Rusty is basically what Bluey's brother would be like if he were alive, so it makes total sense for cricket to be his favorite sport.
But there's also another option. Bluey's brother could be a rugby player, and that makes perfect sense because that's Bandit's favorite sport. As we already explained, this pup would be a copy of his dad, and because of that, the two of them would love playing that sport together. But there's also a third option, and this one is surprising. The Healer couple's first pup could have been a field hockey player. And do you know why our channel says that? Because that's Chili's favorite sport. It's totally normal to imagine that a child of Chili's would have copied at least one of her likes. Just like Bingo, who loves nature like Bandit and plays field hockey like Chili. That's why it's easy to imagine that the older brother would be a lot like Bandit, but he would still have one thing from his mom, and that would be his favorite sport, field hockey. Which of these sports would be your favorite? Love. Would Bluey's brother have a girlfriend? It's very possible that he would, but who would she be? Our guess is that his girlfriend could be one of Mia's friends, since we already explained that his group would be the older pups. But there's also another option. What if the lost Healer pup's girlfriend were one of Coco's older sisters? The pink poodle has several sisters who could be Bluey's brother's girlfriend. And there's one more detail that many fans have already noticed. Judo, who is Bluey's neighbor, would probably have a huge crush on the older boy. We know that because Judo really seems like the kind of girl who would love to get close to a boy who is a lot like Bandit, a really cool, funny, super smart guy. Do you think the girls in Bluey's world would want to meet Bluey's brother? Probably yes.
We've prepared 2 videos you're going to love. Pick one and keep having fun here with Teen Videos.